There is a very, very real possibility that the UK is going to leave the European Union. I think there's a degree of complacency elsewhere in the EU and in some quarters of British government and politics that thought this could never happen. But the opinion polling is very close, and so it is a very distinct possibility that in a month's time the UK will leave the European Union or vote to do so, because that then triggers a process by which Britain will leave, and that puts a lot of pressure on the European Union. And this is one of the biggest challenges I think the EU is going to face. The EU faces problems with Russia, with Turkey, with the migration crisis, with the Eurozone, and suddenly the British question, the British problem, is going to come straight to the top. And the rest of the EU is going to be faced with the challenge of negotiating amongst themselves, 27 member governments, parliaments, publics, and the European Parliament, the Court of Justice and the Commission, will have to reach agreement on what to offer the UK as a departing deal and a new relationship. That will not be easy. The EU struggles to create unity in the face of Russia, Israel, the United States, the refugee crisis, and here's a big member state that's leaving, that knows how to play the system. Can the EU therefore create a united front in facing the United Kingdom as it departs? That is probably going to be one of the biggest tests of the European Union over the next few years. Both the UK and the EU have a lot to lose following a British exit, not just economically, but also in politics, security, and just general trust. One of the best case scenarios is a situation in which there's a degree of trust rebuilt between the UK and the EU, and that applies if Britain stays in. Britain has strained relations with its European partners over the past 3-4 years. After 40 years of very difficult relations, things have got even worse. So even if Britain votes to remain in, it's going to have to find a way, and the rest of the EU will need to find a way of rebuilding relations. And the one area you can see this happening is potentially in foreign security and defence policy. Whether or not Britain or the remaining EU member states will be in a position to pursue rebuilding relations is open to doubt, but that is probably the best case scenario, that they will find unity in the face of Russian pressures from migration and so forth in those areas. Otherwise, a nightmare scenario sees a Brexit aligning with a possible Greek exit, another crisis in Schengen, and that putting an unbearable load on the European Union that causes a real trauma for the EU.